to help deliver that sort of better, quicker, faster service. So welcome, Manish. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Can you guys see my screen? Dave, can you see my screen?
We can indeed. Absolutely. You're all ready to go. So over to you, Manish. Thank you.
Isn't that great when technology works? And by the way, amazing roundup of, series of speakers today. Great stuff. I really like the Kirk's presentation, big shoes to fill and all that. So keep the expectations low, people. It's not going to be as good as Kirk. But let's talk about the thing that I'm going to talk about is 10-second service desk. And the question about 10-second service desk is, what does it mean? Why do you need it? We are all in, post-pandemic or pandemic year. How does it fit into the bigger picture? So I'm going to talk about some of those things and see how it relates to your day-to-day experience of work. So I divided the whole thing into 3 parts. One is employees, what is happening with employees, and I think we have talked about that throughout the day, so I think we kind of know, but I'm going to put a little bit of different perspective, what is happening from the employee perspective. I got a quote recently from an executive on LinkedIn. It was a beautiful quote. It really hit me hard, and I said, I'm going to use your quote, and she said, it's okay. She said, remember the good old days when we used to be in offices and, there were water cooler conversations and there were, foosball tables and people were saying, you work for me, we are going to have all this cool stuff in the offices and whatnot. All that is gone, unfortunately, right? Like, it doesn't matter to me if there's a very nice foosball table in my office today or there's free snacks up there or whatever. So how do you then still make a difference between your company and other companies? How can you make an employee feel a little bit more valued, and how can you make their life a little bit better, right? So that when 2 employees are talking to each other, or 1 employee from one company is talking to another, they say, you know what, my company is great because, right? What is that because anymore, right? So let's go by saying, what are the employees trying to do in these times? So I have a feeling, and you guys can tell me, I have a feeling all of us want to be productive because we are sitting remotely, we are sitting at homes. We want to make sure that we are productive. There's a huge pressure on all of us that we are productive. The day when I don't produce something, I feel really bad. Maybe worse than the day when I was, traveling and on flight and not doing anything because I'm on a flight coast to coast. Now it is really important for me to be productive. Second thing, people don't want to deal with enterprise friction. So what is enterprise friction? I talk about this quite often, but essentially enterprise friction is when you cannot get things done, right? And all of us have experienced this. You want something done, you need some information, but you just cannot figure out who is the right person to reach out and who's going to help you and whatnot. So this is what I call enterprise friction. And really, when you're remote, when you are working from home, and you're a little bit isolated, you don't want to deal with enterprise friction. You want, even your patience level with the enterprise friction is even less than earlier. The third thing is, you don't want to feel isolated. That means you are trying to you're trying to actually have some kind of connection, right? You want to feel connected, right? Because you wake up, you go to your desk and you start typing stuff on your computer, and then after a while it gets to you, maybe not on day 1, maybe not on day 49, but maybe on day 99, right? So how do you feel connected? I think these are 3 things which, in my opinion, and things like this, I'm sure people here can add to it, but these are the feelings that we need. So therefore, and I'm going to go into the service desk construct right now. So remember, remember the old construct, if someone just put together a ticketing system, that doesn't mean they have a service desk, right? A service desk used to, it was more than that. Similarly, if you talk about employee support and employee enablement, today you need a whole lot more tools, a whole lot of more things to be provided to the employee where they are in a very high high touch kind of way, so that everyone feels connected, everyone feels that they can get things done, everyone feels that they are able to make a difference. And that is what is the trick about employee support and employee enablement in today's world, as opposed to 2 years back. So before I go to a solution on how you can do that, how all of us can try to move in that direction, let's talk about the context that is changing around us, right? And I think people have already talked about the context, but listen, all of us are using collaborative tools. There are a bunch of numbers. We just saw numbers that Microsoft is saying that Teams is now being used by I think, I don't remember the number, but it was upwards of 120, 130 million people. And, you have to remember they started with 20, 30 million people, beginning of the year. So these numbers have skyrocketed. That means this is the place where all of us are, right? All of us are on Teams or Zooms or Slack, right? I think a lot of people would agree with me. Therefore, the question is where we are not, right? So I'll tell you where we are not, or less so. We are not in employee portals. We are not in, intranet, right? We are maybe less so on emails. Maybe we're still on emails, but this is the primary channel now, and this is a big change to acknowledge. And therefore everything that I'm saying has to be in the context of, okay, so what does it change for me in terms of employee support and employee enablement? Maybe something does, and we'll come to that. Second thing, a lot of us are using conversational interface at home using AI. So, we have our Google Homes and Alexa, and we can look at what is going on front porch. You can switch on lights, you can switch off TVs, while you're driving, you can make sure that your temperature in the house is getting up. All those things are, 10 years ago, I think Bill Gates could have done it to his mansion, but now all of us can do that. So the question therefore is, this is a force that is at play. What do we do with this force, right? Maybe this force is here to help us as well. The third thing is employees, increasingly are preferring, this is multiple reports have suggested now, and this is not employees and management, they don't want to deal with complexity, right? So they don't want to go to 15 different places for 15 different service desks, or oh, for your knowledge you need to go here, but for your IT you need to go here, and by the way, for this kind of IT help you need to go here, but if you're talking to HR you go there. I think people are kind of done with that kind of broad siloed kind of support that we used to provide to people, and I think that is kind of getting old, and especially post pandemic people just can't deal with that, right? I mean, if I need help, tell me where it is in one place. I just can't go to 20 different places and figure out what are the rules around all those 20 different places. I think that's getting old too. So some new solutions are emerging, right? There's the section 3 that I talk about. So what are the new solutions that we're talking about? So first, let's go about the old, service model. What was the old service model? And which is probably the traditional service model that is being used today in most places, which is employees have a problem. We tell employees, go use, very nice self-service assets we have created for you, go use them. And by the way, if you cannot get help there, then just go create a very nice ticketing system we have bought for you, go create a ticket over there. The truth is, employees don't want to do that for whatever reasons, right? Employees have not been doing that. So what they instead do is they used to just pick up the phone and call us, because I think they believe that there's the fastest way to get help, or they write us an email, even better for them. But then starts the back and forth between, oh, I have taken your details, I'm going to come back to you. You wrote me an email, it was insufficient, I'm trying to reach out to you and set up some time. And back and forth and back and forth. And this is kind of the enterprise friction I was talking to you about earlier. This part of the enterprise friction, this is not all of it, but this part of it. Now, why do they not use self-service assets? Why don't they, use the ticketing system? That's another topic, but they don't, and this is how things were, and we all were used to it, kind of. But I think it was a model that has been going on for last 10, 15 years. There are TV shows made for this. I don't know if you have watched some, I watched some. So this model is old, and this model creates friction and gives anxiety. And especially when you're isolated, this is not a great model in my opinion. So the new model is emerging. And what is the new model? So in the new model, employees comes to one of the collaborative tools that we are talking about, right? Like, Teams and Slack and what have you. In our case, it is Teams. And you come to Teams and you start chatting with the conversational AI. Now, there's the second piece of the puzzle that I was talking about, conversational AI. So now you start chatting with the conversational AI, and conversational AI either helps you, right, quickly, or brings in the right expert. So you don't have to know who's the expert for what. They bring in the live expert and they start chatting with you, and they create the ticket, so you don't have to create the ticket. I call it an invisible ticketing system, a ticketing system that is not even visible to employees, right? And voila, and within 10-15 seconds you are done and you can move on, and you don't get to see a ticketing system. You don't have to make a phone call, and you have resolved your issues. Very often the issue that you had in the first place just needed some information or just small help, right? It is the knowledge component which kills us, right? Enterprise knowledge management is really weak, and generally an isolated employee is going to have a huge difficult time to figure out what is where, right? They're on their own, and that is a problem. In this new model, that problem goes away, because the issue of where what is not your problem anymore. You just need to talk to the conversational AI and they will help you, and you know where it is. It's on Teams. The bigger picture looks at somewhat like this. So employee might have multiple things. They might need some upskilling, maybe a small training on something that has happened, a change management. They might be looking for some information to help themselves. They might be trying to initiate a process. They might be trying to get some tasks done. They might have an issue that they want to discuss with someone, right? These are all the realm of different things that they might want to do. And all they have to do is to come to a single window, right? And we call that enterprise service management, and more specifically AI driven enterprise service management. So it's AIESM is what we call. And you go there, and then AIESM helps you connect to everything and helps you get the answer, right? It is your knowledge management, and it is your change management, and it is your document management, and it connects you to project management, and it brings you to IT help desk, and it helps you connect to the right payroll person who knows how to deal with your payroll issue, and so on and so forth, right? And you can now use even your self-service assets that you never used. And this entire engine is built towards auto resolution and speed. So the topic that I said was 10-second service desk, and this is your 10-second service desk. You go to the service desk, and within 10 seconds something happens to you. Either you get your issue resolved, or you know that a ticket has been created, or and you're talking to an expert within 10 seconds, and that's beautiful. And by the way, enterprises in the backend can now do task automation and process automation and connecting via APIs and stuff like that. So they can continue to automate at the backend, but the employee experience, which is what we are all driven by, is fantastic, and they look at it and they are happy. And if there's more automation to it, it will just be a surprise for them. Next time they are chatting with it, and system will say, well, instead of just giving an answer, maybe I can just do this for you. And they'll say, wow, the system can do this for me. That's phenomenal. I love it. So this is the differentiation that we are talking about between different employees. And this is the employee care that we all can and provide. So to summarize, and I think I'm towards the end of my time, I talked about the service desk construct, but don't be surprised if employees, enterprises are going to do different things using conversational AI and on Teams or Slack. For example, learning experience can be there. We provide that. Sharing knowledge, accomplishing everyday tasks, getting help, collaborating, automating, all these different aspects of what affects employees and what affects enterprises can be done using these new platforms and new approach to solving the old problem. And I suspect that a lot of us are going to go this way very shortly. We have done multiple surveys, and we find that 80-90% of the enterprises are looking to move in this direction very quickly. And the interface and the way it works is beautiful, because for the employee, there's a consistency. There's a same place where you go take a survey on your go to back office policies, and that's the same place where you do your training. There's the same place where you talk about an issue, and same place where you get help on IT help desk, right? So it simplifies their life and simplifies their experience, and even in these difficult times, make them feel a little bit better about everything. Well, I'll leave it for Q&A, Dave. I think I'm about at my end of my time, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, Manish. That's great, and you're right. And yeah, we're seeing much more of this now. And I think what's interesting there is how it integrates with the platform that in the last 12 months has become a significant communication tool. It's interesting that, if you think back not so long ago, when we may use something like Teams, we wouldn't have shared a camera, and all of a sudden it's, if you don't share a camera, wow, that's a bit odd. It's surprising how things have changed. So that's really interesting to see. How long does it take to implement this kind of technology, and maybe how long to train it so it's giving you what it needs, or what you need rather?
No, very interesting question, and I always, and again, I will perhaps show about a little bit about my age, but remember those old business process management tools that we had, right? And there were these projects that I remember that, this project will take 9 months and it will take $750,000, and after all that, we don't know it will happen on time, on budget, right? And almost 1/3 of the projects, or half of the projects, were never on time or on budget, right? And I'm being very generous. So what I'm trying to say is, gone are those days, right? The newer technologies, the newer platform are like 1 month implementation cycle. And a month you can change, within a month you can change how your employee engage with you. So the amount of money it takes, the amount of effort it takes, the amount of time it takes is dramatically different from anything old time. So not only these technologies are changing at a breakneck pace, and there's new things coming every day. I'll tell you, I go and we are integrating newer technology in our platform every day, right? And I'm surprised by what is happening every day. So we need to keep catching up with what is happening and bringing that through our platform to our, everyone. But amazing stuff is happening, and surprisingly, it's not it's not something like pie in the sky, very expensive, will take too long. I don't know whether it succeeds. It's all getting very mature and less expensive.
Good. Thank you, Manish. That's great. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to catching him again very, very soon. Thank you, Manish.
Thanks, Dave.
So we're going to move on to our final speaker.